Hello, I'm Ben Stewart, the founder and owner of SpeechWire Tournament Services. And first off, thank you for judging. I'm very grateful that you're judging whatever tournament it is that you're judging at. And I'm also very grateful to have you on the SpeechWire platform judging at said tournament. I'm going to take some time here and explain what it's like to judge on SpeechWire using electronic ballots. It currently being 2020, it's more than likely that the round that you're going to be judging or the rounds that you're going to be judging are going to be virtual, which means that either they're going to be asynchronous speech rounds, which are rounds where students have actually performed and recorded themselves performing, and then you're going to watch a video that was already recorded, a series of videos, and then you're going to rank them and give them points, possibly, if they are a speech round. And if they're a debate round, they probably won't be asynchronous. They're going to be synchronous, just like many speech tournaments also are. Synchronous tournaments are tournaments that happen live. So that's where students are performing live in front of their camera, usually on their computer, and you are going to be watching them live on some video platform. And I'm going to talk about a few different video platforms that you might encounter. You're going to be watching them live and then using your electronic ballot to give them feedback, to rank them, give them points, one or the other, or both if it's a speech round, and then give them their reason for decision, comments, their decision, and points if it's a debate round. I'm going to go through a number of different types of ballots. I'm going to go through a number of different platforms, and hopefully by the end of this, I will have hit whatever it is the tournament that you're judging at is doing. But I'll start with the basic concepts that are pretty much the same no matter how the tournament that you're judging is running. And that includes even if it's an in-person tournament that you're doing an electronic ballot for, where the student is actually at the front of the room performing, or the students are debating at the front of the room, and you are in the back of the room with your computer judging that. So even if it's an in-person tournament, this still will apply. It's still going to be important information for you as you judge the tournament. The first thing that I will say is, do not create your own account on SpeechWire.com in order to judge. You do not have to do this. The person registering you as a judge at the tournament will put in your email address as part of that registration process, and then the tournament manager is going to link you, if you don't already have a SpeechWire account, and you're going to receive a password in an email. That is going to be the password that you can use to judge at live.speechwire.com. So that's the website you need to go to, live.speechwire.com. If you don't have a password yet, don't worry, one will be emailed to you. If it's the day before the tournament and it still hasn't happened, you're welcome to reach out to the coach for whom you are judging, or even the tournament manager, and try to find out exactly what's going on. When am I going to receive that password? Have you linked me yet? And if they say linked, what does that mean? Encourage them to email me at support@speechwire.com so we can get you all linked up. Don't worry, it will happen, but if the manager is confused, they can certainly email me and try to get more information. I will show you how you could get in touch with that manager if you have to. If you need to get in touch with the person who's managing your tournament, you could go to Calendar, and then you'll see that there are all these info links. Most tournaments are going to have an info link. And if you click on info and scroll to the bottom of the page, then you should see contact information for that manager. So if there's some sort of issue that you need to reach out to them about, that's a way that you can get in touch with the manager of the tournament. So once you've received that email with your password, or if you're an assistant coach, you already have a SpeechWire account, you already have a way to log in. Nonetheless, once you have that ability to log in, you're going to want to go to live.speechwire.com. So this is what the live.speechwire.com website looks like. You'll see it says log in to SpeechWire online tournaments. You'll also notice that there's a forgot password button. So if you have forgotten your password, you can certainly click it, put in your email address, and then you will go ahead and receive a new password that you can use to access live.speechwire.com. So once I've got my password, I log in, and at this point, as the manager is running their tournament, they're going to be releasing electronic ballots to you. When you have electronic ballots released to you, you should generally also receive an email blast to the email that's on file for you with your SpeechWire Judge account. So keep that email open, keep an eye on it. check your junk mail, check your spam folder. Make sure that you're able to receive email from SpeechWire.com and also from SpeechWireMail.com. So if you have a school address, you might have to go to your IT department and ask them to allow email from SpeechWire.com and allow email from SpeechWireMail.com to make sure you're getting all those blasts, those important communications telling you that you have a round to judge. But certainly if you're kind of like, I feel like I should be getting email, but I'm not. As a last-ditch effort, check your junk mail, check your spam mail. Make sure you've left no stone unturned, digital stone in this case, to make sure you're getting those communications that you need to receive and maybe even want to receive. So at this point now, I'm logged in to my judge account at live.speechwire.com, and I'm going to demonstrate to you what it's like to judge a tournament. We'll start with asynchronous speech tournaments. So this would be where hopefully someone has told you what type of tournament you're judging. That would be very helpful information. But if it is an asynchronous speech tournament, again, that's going to be where a student has already recorded their performance, and you're going to be watching the recordings of all of the students in your round, and then using that as the criteria to rank them. If it's a tournament where students are ranked, to give them points. If it's a festival tournament or a festival event where students are given points, or perhaps even giving them rank and points if it's a tournament where both are applied. So I'm going to start with my asynchronous tournament. The first thing that you have to do when you're about to judge a tournament is put in a phone number. So this is going to be my phone number. It's the regular old tech support number. And you have the option to subscribe to text alerts unless you opt out. So I'll go ahead and subscribe, that's fine. And that way, when more e-ballots are given to me, not only will I be emailed, but I'll also receive a SMS text message at the phone number that I provide. At the very least, you need to provide a phone number just in case there's a problem with your ballot so the manager can actually reach you. Since generally these tournaments are not going to be in person this year, for the most part, I suspect, unfortunately, there has to be some way for the tournament manager to reach you in case there really is an issue with your ballot. So we do want to collect that information. The next thing I get is a link to start the round. So I click this, and what that does is that tells the manager that I, as the judge, have begun judging the round. And that's important for them to know because now they know that you are actually doing the judging. And they're not going to try to replace you with someone else because they think that you're not judging the round. So now you'll see that I've got a speaking order. Not super relevant what the speaking order is for asynchronous tournaments, but along with each of these students, I have a link to edit comments. And this is very important for asynchronous tournaments because that edit comments field is how I get to the video for this entry. So for instance, I want to watch Earl Willis's communication analysis speech. Well, here we go. I've got my click here to play the video for this entry. So that's going to open up Earl's video, which is a very strange communication analysis speech, but certainly you get the idea of what this is going to be looking like. So there you go. You will be able to put in your comments here. So I got my test comments. You can put in a performance time length. That's probably more important with synchronous tournaments, so you could put it in if you want to, if you're tracking time on your phone, whatever you choose to track the time on. For asynchronous, again, not the most important, but for synchronous, you would want to track the time quite possibly so that the student knows what their time was. And then you can say save comments, and now you'll see that Earl has turned green. That means that I have put in my comments for Earl. I can go ahead and move on to Dan or Raul or Tara or Ursula and watch their videos. They all have a video link. Once I'm done with the round, I will now need to put in my rank and or points. So this tournament is one where both rank and points are being collected. I should note that you might think, wait a second, I can put in my rank and points, but I've only put in comments for Earl so far. That is true. As long as the manager leaves your electronic ballot open, you can go back in and put in comments for things that you watched earlier. And that goes for both asynchronous and synchronous tournaments, and in fact also for in-person tournaments. So what we want to do is get the rank and points in because we want to keep the tournament moving, of course. So we'll do this. This looks like it's on a 1 to 100 scale. So we'll say 1/100, 97 points for second place. For third place, I'll give 95 points. For fourth place, I'll give 93 points. Fifth place wasn't quite as good. We'll give 89 points. Okay, so here we go. I've got my rank and my points in, and I click Save Ballot. So now you'll see that I cannot change my rank and points anymore, but I can still put in more comments for these other students if I want to. So certainly I encourage you, and managers would also encourage you, to make sure you do put in comments for every one of those students and give the best comments, the most detailed comments, the most encouraging comments that you possibly can. But definitely get those rank and points in so that the tournament can keep moving. That's the asynchronous approach. That is also basically what a speech ballot is going to look like on any platform that we talk about. So that really gives you an idea of what your speech ballot will be looking like as you're judging the speech tournament. We'll take a look now at what it looks like to judge on the Nsda campus platform, and I'll start by showing you a debate ballot on this platform. So I'm going to start by doing my test tournament campus. It would say the name of the tournament that you're judging at instead of test tournament campus. But it's an LD round, round 1, section A. So here we go. I've got my button right here to open my Nsda campus room, and I've got to click here to start the round. So I'll start the round to let the manager know that I'm judging, and then what I would do is I would just click Open Nsda campus room. That's going to open the Nsda campus room. If you want to see what an Nsda campus room looks like, you're more than welcome to. Go to campus.speechanddebate.org, and right there you'll have a link to go ahead and open a sample Nsda campus room. So if you're judging on Nsda campus and you want to get a taste of what it is you're going to be seeing when you're judging the round, I encourage you to check that out on the Nsda campus website. I will focus on the debate ballot in this case. In this case, the debate ballot shows that I have Abby Adkins on the affirmative, Eli Hardwig on the negative. I've got a spot to select the winning debater. I've got a spot for points for each of them. This tournament's offering me the order and time limits of the speeches in the Lincoln Douglas debate format. And then I've also got a spot for comments for both Abby and Eli and a reason for decision. Again, if you have to, if your round started late and you're in a rush, you can just select the winner and then put in the points. So we'll say, I don't know what the range is here. Okay, it's from 15 to 30. So we'll say 26 points for Abby. We'll say 29 points for Eli. And it says you've marked a low point win, because you'll notice that Eli has more points than Abby does. So it really wants to make sure that is actually your intent. And I'm going to say, oh, wait a second, I selected the wrong winner. I really wanted Eli to win. Oops. Cool. That's good. Glad we caught it. You can submit a low point win if the tournament's allowing it, but just be totally sure that's what you want to do. So I'll save my ballot. There we go. So now I've put in my decision and my points. And then I can also put in, of course, my comments for Abby, my comments for Eli, and my reason for decision goes here. So you want to put all that in. And again, you'll still have access to that for at least some time after you put in your decision and your points. So there we go. That's my Nsda Campus Lincoln Douglas debate ballot. Now, Nsda Campus, which is a live synchronous tournament platform where you are watching students perform their speeches or take part in debates live, also can host speech. So if we open up a speech ballot for Nsda Campus, we start that round, and here's my Open Nsda Campus Room button. So that's what I would click to go into the Nsda Campus Room, join the students, and watch them perform, in this case, their dramatic interpretation speeches. So that's the Nsda Campus platform, and I've shown you what a speech ballot looks like and what a debate ballot looks like. That leaves a few other platforms, but also Student Congress. So I want to talk about Student Congress real quick, and in order to do that, I'm going to look at a tournament that in this case is running on the free 8x8 video platform. So we'll click on this, and we've got our ballot here or our link to enter the live video round. I have what it's calling a speaking order, but really it's just all the 15 students in this Congress chamber, and I've got a link to start the round. So I'll go ahead and start the round, and you'll notice that this e-ballot looks a little bit different. So in this case, we have our competitors. They're sorted by last name, and then they have a spot for speeches in the Congress session, and also a spot to put in those speeches, and a place to put in ranks. In most Congress rounds that you judge, you're going to be ranking the students from 1 to 8, and you will be leaving the other students blank. Those might be students who didn't speak in the session, or they might be students whose speeches were not as good as the other students, or who in whatever way did not comport themselves as well in the Congress chamber to deserve a 1 through 8 rank in your assessment. So what you want to do during the session is use these add a speech buttons. So let's say the first person to speech is Kara Elmington. So we're going to add a speech for Kara. You can take notes on Kara's speech here, and then you can go ahead and score it. So you're going to score it from 1 to 6. Something very important here is that speech scores are ranked in ascending order, or are given points in ascending. So essentially a 6 is the best speech. So this is like 6 points. I really like this speech. I give it a 6 out of 6. If it was not as good of a speech, you might give it a 4 or a 5. Generally, I don't see a lot of point values below 3. 2 and 1 are not used very frequently in most communities, but certainly I leave it to your tournament manager and the coach who hired you to let you know exactly how it is that you should be assessing these Congress speeches. But let's say this was a really good one, so we're going to give it a 6. Save comments and score. There you go. I should note that in speech, it goes the other way. 1 is the best because you're ranking the students, so 1st through 6th. Congress speeches, 6 out of 6 is really good. Speech rounds like dramatic interpretation, 1st place is better than 6th place. It makes sense, but there you go. So now let's say Marcellus speaks next. We'll add a speech from Marcellus. We're going to give it a 5, and this is Marcellus's comments, and we'll save those. If Marcellus speaks again, I can add a second speech, save comments. If Marcellus speaks yet again, I can do this, but if I then realize, wait a minute, it wasn't Marcellus, I didn't want to give him a 3rd speech, I can click on that speech, and it says, did you create this speech by accident and need to delete it? Indeed, yes, I did. So we're going to delete that speech. So there we go. So now Marcellus has 2. We'll say Gus also spoke and did very well. We'll save that. You can imagine that there are more speeches in here, but now the session has ended and it is time for us to rank the students. So we're going to give Gus 1st place. We'll give Kara 2nd place. We'll give Marcellus 3rd place, even though Marcellus spoke twice. We didn't think that Marcellus's speeches were quite up to par. And then just imagine that these other people also spoke. So we'll be rating 1 through 8. We'll be ranking them 1 through 8. Just like a speech round for ranking, 1 is the best. 8 is 8th out of the top 8 in the session, and the other students do not receive a rank. So we're going to submit our ballot, and then SpeechWire is going to convert those non-ranked students to 9. So they essentially all receive 9s. And that's that. Once you've submitted the ranks, you can't change those anymore. And I should have mentioned that you've got this very important click here to enter live video round link. Since this is running on the 8x8 free platform, it is a live synchronous round. So we'll click it, and that's going to take us into our round. We do not need to install this extension, and here we go. Once this loads, we would be in our 8x8 live video round. You would see your video, you would see the video of the students in your Congress chamber, and there you go. So that's not only Congress, but also the 8x8 platform. The 8x8 platform, just like Nsda campus, could also be hosting speech tournaments, or debate tournaments, or Congress tournaments, or all of the above. You could have a mix of different rounds depending on what kind of tournament you're at. So now you've seen speech ballots, you've seen debate ballots, you've seen Congress ballots, and you've seen how asynchronous tournaments work for speech. You've seen how live synchronous tournaments work for campus and 8x8, campus being Nsda campus. And we're also going to show you now what Zoom looks like. So you might be judging a tournament that is running entirely on Zoom. If so, just like all the other platforms, this is a dramatic interpretation round. We'll go ahead and click on that to open up my round, and I will say click here to start the round to let the manager know that I'm judging this round. And there's a link right here that says click here to enter live video round. One thing, if you're judging a Zoom tournament, that I want you to pay attention to is the room number. For a lot of these synchronous tournament approaches, the room number is not super important, but for Zoom, more likely than not, you're going to be in a breakout room once you reach this Zoom call. The tournament manager or the proctor of the Zoom call that you're joining might also ask you to rename yourself with your room number in front of your name in Zoom. That helps the proctor, the person who's running the Zoom call, make sure they get you into the correct breakout room. So keep in mind that's something you might be asked to do. If you are asked to do it, once you get into the Zoom call, you want to right-click on yourself and click Rename, and then rename yourself. In my case, it would be 101, because that's the room that I'm in, Ben Stewart. So it'd be 101 space Ben Stewart. So go ahead and click Enter Live Video Round, and it takes us right into Zoom, and it gives us the option to open Zoom meetings, which would take us into the correct Zoom call that our round is taking place in. Just like any other speech ballot, you've got a link to put in comments for each of the students. You can put in their performance time, and you can also rank the students 1 through 6, 1 being the best, because this is a speech round. So that's how you get into the Zoom call, that's how you put in your ranks, that's how you put in your comments. The last platform that I'm going to talk about is the Yotli platform. You'll see that I've assigned myself a Yotli ballot here. So if I click on that, it's going to open up my ballot. I'm going to say click here to start the round. And now I've got my spot for rank and spot for points. This is a tournament that's using both. I've got my spot to put in comments. It's telling me these students are very busy and are all heavily cross-entered. So some of them might be leaving after they perform because they're entered in multiple events. Some of them may be coming in late because they had to do their other event first. But you will notice on the Yotli platform that there are no links to enter the live video round. That's because tournaments running on Yotli actually run on a different website for the video. It's called yotli.com, and it's spelled just like this, Yaatly. So you, as the judge, will need to also have a yotli.com account. I do not administer those because that is a separate company that I've been very happy to integrate with. Just like Nsda Campus is run by the National Speech and Debate Association, I've been very happy to integrate with their platform. So if you're judging a Yotli tournament, then you're going to have a yotli.com account. It is beyond my purview to talk about creating those, but certainly at some point one will be created for you. Check with the coach who is quote-unquote bringing you to the tournament to make sure that you're able to get that access. And then at that point, what you might want to consider doing, just like you would for Nsda Campus or for 8x8 or even for Zoom, you might want to have your windows side by side. So you essentially pull your ballot over to the left side of the screen, pull the video over to the right side of the screen, so you can go ahead and do both. You can have your ballot open and be judging. If you have 2 monitors, all the better. You can put your video performance on one monitor and put your ballot on another monitor. I don't really recommend judging on a phone if you can avoid it. It's going to be very difficult for you to not only see the video, but also for you to do your comments. If you can use a computer, please do. It will make your experience better. You will have a better day. Probably your comments will be more complete. So if you have access to a computer, I certainly encourage you to judge on a computer. That being said, I also hope that sooner rather than later, we will all be able to be at tournaments together in person. In the meantime, if you're watching this in late 2020 or early 2021, I suspect you're going to be judging on a computer. And I know it's not really what we're used to. It's not really probably as enjoyable for most of us as judging a tournament in person. Nonetheless, thank you for your service to the community. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the feedback that you're providing to students. And thank you, hopefully, for watching some really good performances, some really good debates, some really good Congress sessions. It means a great deal to me that you are taking part in this activity. It means a great deal to me also that you've watched this video. I hope that you find your experience judging on SpeechWire to be pleasant. I hope that you see some great stuff. And again, thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for helping students. And even if there's no tournament going on right now, I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much.